Cool. Well, I think we should probably get started. It's a little bit past 12 here, so
Sounds good.
I'm going
Yeah, we've got a
to.
good number. Got a good number of people in here.
Yeah,
Cool.
this is great. So, welcome. This is our how to use email marketing to quickly find clients without burning your list. So, if you're like me, email marketing is something that you are spending this time at home, trying to figure out how to get it started, or if you did previously started it, how to brush up and really, make it a profitable venture. So, we've invited Zach Hammer. Zach is an awesome marketer. He specializes in real estate. And let me see here. Yeah. So let's get started. So just to
Sounds
start us
good.
off, just to start us off, you guys probably all know we're API Nation, so we connect the world's applications. And how that works today is we are connecting your email applications with your CRM, your Google Sheets, anywhere you're keeping your leads. We want to connect it to an email marketing application so that all that stuff is automated. And once it's automated, then you can start using these strategies that Zach is going to show us. And just if you need any more information about API Nation, we believe in don't be a robot, build a robot. Routine work is not something you should be doing. That's definitely something computers should be doing. Connecting apps should be simple. All this stuff, you guys are all part of API Nation, so you know it. But if you have any questions, I'll leave my contact information at the end. But let's get to Zach.
Well, real quick, actually, I want to dive a little bit more into what you just said. I literally just did a webinar with my business partner where we were talking about systems and processes and stuff like that. And one of the key things, like for anybody that doesn't understand the power of something like API Nation, the amount of time that you can save, even doing incredibly simple activities, can add up drastically over time. If you spend 5 minutes doing a simple task, but you do it every day, right? If it takes you even just a few minutes to set up an automation to do it instead, you are net positive on time within like a week. And then from there, you're literally just buying your time back and experiencing, fantastic returns where now you can actually do things that you couldn't do. Things are getting done that might have normally failed because of humans, forgetting to do it in the normal process. So
Yeah.
I really want to reiterate what you guys do at API Nation is key to building a successful business that can compete today. So anyway.
Yeah. No, it's I appreciate it. It's definitely like you're right. It's a huge time save. It's most of my email marketing, when it's failed, it has been because the little things like keeping the newsletter list updated, keeping the
Right.
stuff pushed across, it just grows and grows until it's overwhelming and it's like, I don't even want to do it anymore. So if you have a computer do it, if you just have it automated, so every time you hop into your MailChimp, your Constant Contact, you can just,
Right.
type something out and hit send. That's the dream.
Right.
That's kind of, that's
Absolutely.
what we're hoping
Absolutely.
for. Yeah. And then just as you see on your screen, you just see these are the most popular email marketing integrations we've created so far. So we have some CRMs on the left-hand side. We have the marketing integrations, Gmail, Outlook, MailChimp, BombBomb, which is a video email service, HomeBinder, which is a really cool email marketing service, which we'll get into a little bit later, is kind of a special service. But yeah, so this is Zach. This is Zach Hammer. You've been doing this, what, 5-6 years now?
Yeah, so I've been doing marketing in some form or fashion for about the past 10, 12 years.
Okay, so a little bit off. A little bit
Yeah,
more
but I've been specializing in real estate for about the past 6 or so years. So I had a job as a marketing director for a team in Las Vegas. And that was about 6 or 7 years ago that I took that job. While I was there, I 5x'd their lead flow. We cut their cost per lead in half on average, and we doubled in business every year that I was there.
Yeah.
But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I set out on my own, and that's where my company, Real Estate Growth Hackers, came from. And essentially, what we do is we help real estate agents to generate and convert more leads. So all of our training, all of our services, all of that, it's all based around helping people to go out and find the deals and get better at converting them. So lots of digital marketing, lots of print marketing, just all sorts of stuff. Anything that helps people to grow their business. That's our jam.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. And then, so let's get to it. Let's talk about what we are going to talk about today. Today, we're going to cover why even are doing email? Like, what is the point? It's kind of a dinosaur technology, some people think, so why even get into it? Why not just move on to TikTok or, really invest time in some Instagram? And then you and I have talked about, you've mentioned these ideas of 2 types of email strategies. So you're kind of going to elaborate on that. And then
Right.
we are going to quickly lay out an email plan. So kind of live, we're just going to lay it out. If you're like me and you need to get started with email, how would I even start? Like, where do I even begin? And then finally, we'll just touch up with, what are successful, innovative agents doing? How can I be like them in a year? How can I be that person? And we'll give you some additional resources at the end. So let's see. Why do we even do email? What's the idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think before we dive into that, one of the things that I'd like to do real quick, I'd like to get a little bit of a feel for like what everybody who's watching this, what their experience is like, in terms of what amount of people diving into email. So in the chat right now, if you guys are actively using email and you can source leads back, or source deals back from your email marketing strategy, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. If you are, if you know what email is, but you're not really sure of how to use it in order to generate business, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat. So we got to kind of get a feel of what the general experience is. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of 2s,
Yeah.
decent
Few
number of
ones.
1s. So
Yeah.
yeah, good. There's definitely a decent number of people who are seeing some success. So for those of you who do have success with email already, hopefully we can give you guys some ideas about how this might, how these concepts might relate overall, in terms of what you're already doing. For those of you who aren't very specific, we got 1.5. That's funny. For those of you who aren't very sure of how to use email, hopefully we can give you kind of a good layout, a good plan in what we're going to talk about. So in terms of why start with email, you mentioned a couple of great great potential options in terms of how people can generate leads. Yeah, like TikTok is a new and upcoming platform. It's growing very quickly. Facebook has been around for a while. It's got in the US alone, it's got 200 million active users, which is 2/3 of the US population.
Oh, it's like, yeah, there's
And
more people on Facebook than there's alive, I think.
yeah, pretty sure. So pretty much, if somebody exists, they're probably on Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram is massive and growing as well. So yeah, these are all great platforms. The biggest reason why email is so powerful, in terms of why people should be using it, well, there's a few reasons. So one, it's something that you own and you control. Okay, so building an email list is building an asset that you could take with you. So you might switch between companies. You might use MailChimp for a while. You might use Constant Contact. You might be, just having a list in a spreadsheet and sending out emails via, Gmail or whatnot, right? But it's a list of people that you know something about them, and you can control. You can take it with you. You own it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sites like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, it's what we like to call digital sharecropping, where yes, you can build an audience, you can build influence, but you are building in somebody else's garden, and they could take it away from you in a second, right? There are countless stories right now of people who, Facebook's been around for a while, people who built up massive Facebook followings on their Facebook page, generating thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes on their Facebook page, only to find that years later, Facebook now minimizes the amount of organic reach you get from your Facebook page. So all that work that you put into building up your Facebook page, and by the way, it wasn't useless. There's still value that you get from that. But it changed, right? They changed it overnight, where they essentially made it so that now your Facebook posts don't get quite as much reach, and it's very much a company shift, a policy shift. Not to mention, people get their Facebook accounts shut down all the time. The other day, in light of all of this stuff going on with COVID, Facebook has some of their review process is moving more automated, and there's been a little bit of bugginess to it. I had basically every post that I posted be pulled off as if it was spam because of an overactive spam filter on Facebook. And you just can't control that stuff when you're on somebody else's platform.
No, it's definitely a platform that you're borrowing. It's like, somebody's offering you this, and not to mention you build up this entire audience, and then the algorithm changes, and
exactly.
Yeah, it's huge.
Exactly. And so I have nothing against Facebook. I do a lot of marketing on Facebook. I love marketing on Facebook. But it's kind of like if you build a chair, right? If you build a chair that has one leg and that leg gets taken out, well, you're not sitting on a chair anymore. You're sitting on your butt, right? So when you build out a marketing strategy, you want to put more legs in your strategy in order to make sure that if something goes away, if something falls out, that you have other legs to stand on, right? And that's kind of part of where I see email. So there are some downsides to email. Email open rates are often going down today compared to where they have been historically. There is more regulation entering into the email space that's causing some issues in terms of getting your email seen. But even with all that said, email is still a reliable way that you can, for incredibly cheap, reach an audience of people consistently and find deals, find business out of it in a way that you control. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Nothing that's coming up to replace it has kind of the same mix of things that make email so powerful. So yeah, email is a fantastic platform to make sure that it's part of your marketing strategy for sure.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, we, in my businesses that I've worked with, email has been our most successful, just for building relationships, for taking people for, I mean, over years. Like, we can be Facebook friends and you can follow me on Facebook, but especially for real estate, when the lead time is, 5, 6 years, 7 years between decisions to buy a house, sell a house,
right,
you want them on email, so you always have that way to contact them. So,
and shoot, even at the speedier times when somebody's like starting into the process of looking to buy a home, people start their home search on average about a year before they actually buy the house. So even somebody who's like in the process and active, not just thinking about it, but like starting into that process, even then you got like a year long lead time. So yeah, it's good to have a way to communicate for cheap.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So in previous explanations of using email, you've kind of broken it down for me in 2 types of email. And we kind of did before the webinar, you guys all answered kind of a quick question about what kind of email service you're using. And they kind of break down into the 2 types of email. You can see we got close to 20 people using like a MailChimp, Constant Contact, Active Campaign. And then most other people are using Gmail, Outlook, CRM, email. And then there's kind of an other chunk of people who are, they're using some black magic to get that email out. But yeah, so
nice.
Yeah. So the 2 emails. Let's see. How would you break those down? How would you break down the 2 email strategies that you were talking about?
Yeah, so basically what I would generally describe is that you have emails that are going to be what I would call your sales style emails, your more transactional style emails. These are going to be the emails that you're having more one-on-one, more direct with people. There may be some level of automation that goes into this, but really the email that goes out is designed to be timely with what somebody else has done, right? So those types of emails are going to be the sort of things that you'll find that you send in like your CRM. When somebody is looking to buy a house, they come into your world because they called off a sign call, or they became a lead through a landing page or something like that, where you have some context about them. Generally, you're going to send like a series of emails that are really designed to hit them directly, right? Where it's like, hey, so glad you inquired about this home. What questions can I answer? Or maybe here's a few resources that might be useful to you. And they're very relevant to the context that person came in. So that's kind of one type of email. And what I find mentally is that it's very good to think about those emails in one system, and to have that system kind of be self-contained, so that that's what it's there for. Yeah. The second type of email is the emails that really you send to everybody, right? Where you're not going to necessarily send, and we'll talk a little bit about why. It's not going to make sense for you to share every open house and every listing and everything that you have going on that's real estate specific with everybody on your list, because that's not relevant to everybody. If somebody isn't looking to buy a house, they don't care about your listings, right? And so the secondary type of email is the type that you send to everybody, right? Like the emails that no matter where somebody is in the market, no matter what's going on in their life, that you can send to them something that keeps you top of mind, but allows you to, reach out to a large amount of people. So your mass emails or your broadcast style emails. And generally, for sake of making sure that you kind of know what you're doing and that you're not accidentally burning your list, I like to keep those separate, right? I like to have my system where I know when I'm in this system, when I'm in this world, what I'm doing here is I'm communicating with people essentially one-on-one. Now, again, that's a little bit loose because you can go a little bit more than one-on-one in a lot of these, but the idea is that it's contextual. And then the other system is where you send your newsletter or your general updates, the things that are safe and good to go out to everybody, friends, family, past clients, current buyers, current sellers, no matter what somebody's context is, the kind of information that can go out to everybody. So those are the two types of emails. So broadcast versus, I'd call them transactional. That might not be the right word in the real estate world. But your sales or transactional emails compared to your broadcast emails.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when Amazon sends you, hey, you were looking at, this specific product, and they just keep hammering with you with that. And you're like, actually, I'm not even interested in that product anymore. How do I get off this list? You would rather just Amazon send you like, hey, these are, 10 sweet tech gadgets that people are really into. Like, oh, okay, I'll check that out. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to unsubscribe from that. But, you keep telling me about the Kindle Fire until I'm blue in the face. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So it's even more important when it comes to the real estate world because, theoretically, if I have shown interest in buying the Kindle, right? Yeah. Like there's actually a decent expectation that Amazon could have in saying that talking to me about that might be worthwhile because like that's not the kind of buying behavior that necessarily changes super quickly. But the reality is most people don't actively seek out real estate information unless they are in the market for a transaction. Right. And so if all you're sending out is real estate information, you're gonna be turning people off. You're just training them to ignore you.
Yeah. Yeah. Over time, they'll just be like, okay, yeah, I've seen enough houses. I'll come back to you later on. And then, later on, they'll be like, I don't even remember who that guy was. I unsubscribed a long time ago.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So people do need to be sending out both the transactional emails. So that is really important, sending those out through your CRM, through Gmail, doing that personally, sending out personal bombs to people as they come in as leads.
Absolutely.
And then also you need to be building that relationship, the long-term, here am I, here's my personal brand. This is what I know about my community. Here's all the great restaurants that you'll be moving next to when you buy a house from me. All that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
Exactly. And part of the big reason why that's such an important aspect. So people get really focused on the right now business, the things that they got right in front of their face, which you have to be to a degree, but people lose sight of the wealth that's available in just the everyday relationships that you have, the relationships that you've created and developed. And if you can nurture those correctly, they pay off fantastically. For instance, NAR did a survey of real estate clients where they found that I forget what it is. It's like 80 to 90% of people say that they would work with their agent again in the future, right?
Yeah.
But what actually ends up happening is about only 10% of people actually do, right? And the reason for that isn't, I don't think, because this is at the end of a transaction, so everything's already happened, the relationship's already developed. The reason why people don't end up working with their agent again is largely because they stopped hearing from their agent, or they stopped wanting to hear from their agent because their agent had nothing relevant to say after they were done with the transaction, right? And so that's part of where this comes into play, is to realize, like, people want to do business with you. We just got to make sure to give them the information that long term will actually keep them entertained, keep them engaged, so that they remember you, so that they're trained to pay attention to who you are.
Yeah, no, that's huge. It's tough. Yeah, for sure. And then, so when you're sending out these mass market emails where you're trying to keep them engaged so that they don't forget about you and they can reuse you again, and they become a valuable, their overall lifetime value grows. So as you're doing that, we've also, the whole thing of the webinar is, how do you do that without burning those bridges?
Right.
So how do you?
Absolutely.
How do you market without burning the list?
Yeah. So I'd say the first place to start is to think about what kind of content works and when it works. Okay. So talking about your open houses, your listings, market conditions. In some cases, it depends on how you're doing it. But generally, the kind of stuff that is top of mind for the everyday real estate agent. Because it's what you're dealing with day after day, right? The transactions that you have in front of you, what you're seeing in the market, that kind of information is really only and most useful for the people who are actively in the market for a transaction right now, right? That segment of people that they're considering buying, they're considering selling, and it's great information for them, right? So if you have that awareness that somebody is right now looking for help with a real estate transaction, or they're thinking about selling, or they're thinking about buying, right? If you have that information, have that information about somebody, then feel free, share that information with them, put relevant listings in front of them, tell them about your open houses and that kind of idea. But know that there's a time frame where if somebody hasn't responded, if somebody's not engaging with you, you need to adapt your messaging to fit into what I would call, evergreen content, or topics that work no matter if somebody is in the market or not. And so that type of content, there's a couple of different things. Now there's two main kinds. And if you're taking notes right now, this would be one of the things that you want to take notes on. So the first kind is what I call lifestyle. Okay. And so lifestyle information is going to be all of the things that make up living in the home, right? This could be lots of different ideas. You could talk about design trends going on in the market, things that people might find interesting in terms of how to decorate their rooms, their bathrooms, their kitchens, etc. Right? So that would be one idea. Another thing would be like DIY tips. So it's like when summer comes around, you can share an article about how people can turn their backyard into an outdoor movie theater, right?
Yeah.
And that would be an example of content that somebody would find relevant regardless of what they're doing in the market. That could just be useful and interesting and keep people engaged long term.
Yeah.
So that's those are what's the other one? So DIY, design trends, those kinds of ideas. If you're looking for really great examples of what kind of stuff you can share, that's a lifestyle sort of focused concept, check out Zillow's Porchlight blog. I know a lot of people hate Zillow, and hey, feel free to hate Zillow if you don't like Zillow. But in terms of finding a great place to sort of get ideas for content that you can either write yourself or maybe find resources, Zillow does a fantastic job on their Zillow Porchlight blog of surfacing this type of content. So you can use that as inspiration to say, this is an article I can write, or this is an article I can go out and find, or if you want to, just literally share Zillow's article. But yeah, does that make sense?
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I love the idea about the evergreen, and that was like a term I recently heard and understood,
Right.
where it's like, it's a tree that's always green year round. So anybody could find this content at any time. And I mean, the idea of, I want to turn my, backyard into a barbecue. That's if I'm going to buy a house soon, if I'm going to sell a house soon, if I'm dreaming about moving out of an apartment. Sometimes I'm interested in finding, can I make a barbecue? How hard is this? So,
right.
Patrick quickly asked,
exactly.
what are the rules about finding content and using it? So you mentioned like reposting stuff from Zillow's Porchlight. Right. Can you just repost it? Do you have to attribute? What do you do?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, always on these kinds of things, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV, so I'm not always positive about all of the specifics. But in general rule of thumb that I've always used, if you are linking out to somebody's original content, most people are happy for you to do that, period. Okay. If it's kind of the same rules as if you were, if you were in school, what does plagiarism look like, right? If you literally take somebody's article, copy and paste it and pretend that it's yours, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. If you write a little summary that is in your own words about what that article is about, and then link out to the original source, that's generally considered okay. The other thing is if you take the idea as inspiration, but you just literally write your whole own article, your own article, that would be fine too. So like, I'll give you guys a live example of how you could go about doing this. So I'm going to go to Zillow.com, and I'm just going to Zillow Porchlight, and I'm just going to find an article and kind of show you how you might take it as inspiration, and then make it your own. So you could literally you could either write your own email for this, or you could put it up on your own on your own website. So the first article that shows up when I go to Zillow right now is called 5 Ways to Refresh for Spring. And so on their list, they have embrace natural light, give your furniture a clean slate. And here, do you want me to, I can share my screen so that other people can see this too. Let me pull it up over here. Just a second.
And you were right. I mean, the marketers who write these articles, they actually do love it if you just kind of give a slight spin on it and then link back to their article. That's kind of what they're hoping for is, I would like people to be interested in this and send people to my original content. So I think it's.
And a lot of this depends on your goals and your level of commitment, right? So like if all you're looking for is something that you could throw into an email newsletter, then all you need to do is write a short summary. It says, hey, so let me give you that example. So say you want to literally just link to this article. All you would need to do is say, hey, spring is coming up. And I know lots of people are implementing spring cleaning right now. I wanted to share an article that stood out to me about some great ways that you can be, making your home feel more fresh in light of the fact that spring is coming up. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this side topic to this, a lot of this information, a lot of these concepts need to be adapted in light of, the current COVID Corona stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So keep that in mind. But we want to give you guys evergreen tips that you could use regardless of what's going on in the world. Keep that in mind with these ideas. Anyway, but if you wanted to do this as an article, then you could say, like I just said, here are some ideas for to keep your house fresh, and then you literally just link to the article. Zillow's not going to have any problem with you doing that. You're sharing out the article, you're giving them the traffic, and you're not claiming their content as your own. You're just sending them to the original source. Now, if you wanted to take this article as inspiration, then what you could do is you could say, so here's 5 ways to refresh your space. You can literally go and Google and say spring cleaning ideas, right? And you could take this and then you could start pulling different from different places. Think through the main sections that you want to cover, and then just write a quick blurb about each of them, right? So here's 33 easy spring cleaning tips. So you could pull some ideas from here. You can pull some ideas from this one. As long as you are not taking the content and literally like taking this, copying it and pasting it into your own article, then you should be fine in terms of being able to use the content as inspiration. But if you don't want to write your own article, just link back to the original. Don't copy and paste it, write your own summary, link back to the original, and you're solid.
It's a really quick way to add really quality content, send it out to people. Just, here is, 33 ways to spring clean. Or like you said, you can contextualize it for your area. Like I used to live in Phoenix, and spring cleaning in Phoenix is very different than spring cleaning probably, in North Dakota or something. So the dust was just everywhere all the time. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, when I lived in Vegas, we got scorpions and whatnot too. So yeah,
that is that's a different way to live. Worrying about scorpions in your shoes and all everywhere. So
exactly.
Cool.
So anyway, so that's the key idea there. Alice also mentioned another tip in terms of what people can say. She mentioned maintenance topics. Yeah, that's a fantastic one. So as a for instance, in terms of making that timely and relevant, that could be letting people know. It's like, hey, fall is here. You need to clean out your gutters if you're in an area that actually has trees that get gutters that need cleaning. But you might mention that, and then you might link out to some of your preferred vendors who could do that for them, right? Like it's all about being contextual to living their life right now, no matter where they are in terms of the transaction. Now, I'll tell you in a second, kind of how you can still sprinkle in the real estate information so that when the time comes, they still think of you for that. But the key idea is you want to, the topic that I like to describe this with is that you lead with what people want in order to give them what they need, right? So one of the things that you always want to think about is what will people actually be interested in, and then how can I use that as a way to kind of get the other messages in front of them. So I gave you guys one so far. So that was lifestyle. Okay. The second way that I love in terms of these long-term mass market emails is local. So using the alliteration, lifestyle and local. Those are my two main ways. So local, what do I mean by that? Local is just anything that is relevant to somebody who lives in your area. Now, between the two of those, local is better. Okay, so local is better than lifestyle. The reason why I mentioned both though is because lifestyle you can find great information anywhere and potentially just make it your own. And a lot of services can do this for you and can make that easier for you, right? Local generally means that you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and get involved a bit more in order to actually create some of this content, right? So it's a little bit harder, but it's better. So, I mean, keep that in mind. But in terms of what you say, so local, that could be, you could talk about some of the cool events that are coming up. Maybe there's great events for families. Maybe there's great nightlife going on. You could talk about, what are your favorite things to do in the area? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite place to get a taco? What's your favorite place for steak? What's your favorite vegan place if you're vegan, right? So you can dive into the things that make you come alive, and you can kind of share that back out with your community. You could talk about events that might be impacting people locally, right? Like the in light of what's going on right now, this would be a fantastic time for you to use the corona crisis as a way to say, what can I do to be of service to my community? Can I connect them to local places where kids who are going without their school lunches can get lunches today? Can I connect them to resources that are helping small businesses who are being, who are having to close their doors in light of the social distancing, right? So you can share resources about what people can do locally. What are some of the other, even things like you could share like your favorite place to go for a hike, your favorite parks, what you like to do there, that kind of thing. Really the key idea is you think through, what do people want? What can make somebody's life better here locally? What are the things that can make living here better? And then what's great is that that's content that appeals no matter where somebody is in the market, but it also still positions you as a local expert, right? So when they're thinking about who they want to work with for their real estate needs, they're already familiar that, like, you're involved in the community. You're not just after the deals. You're actually participating in the community and being involved. So it's local, to me, is one of the best. But it's harder for people because you actually have to seek it out. You have to create more in order for it to work well.
Yeah, there's a little bit more elbow work. I've seen some really great examples of local, though. You mentioned a lot of them. I've also seen videos where, realtors will go into a local restaurant or business and just kind of chat about, like, how long have you been here? What do you know about the neighborhood? What are some things about your restaurant? What are some special dishes nobody knows about? And it just does kind of enrich the community. And it shows, you are an expert, so that when you show them all the properties and stuff, they know, oh, this guy's not just looking at, papers. These are actually like 3D people and real communities. So I think you're right. It really enriches stuff.
Exactly. And if you follow that strategy, that's one of my favorite strategies. I mean, we created a service around helping people do that called Local Celebrity Show, that literally what we help people do is make those connections with business owners, set up the interviews, and then turn that into a show that they can put out to their list. But one of the key things about that a lot of people miss too, is that those opportunities that you get by connecting with business owners can be a massive source of referral business too. So even aside from just having the content put back into your list, building those relationships, you're connecting with people who are seeing hundreds to maybe thousands of people a month, that in some cases they get like really close connections, right? Like go and interview a local barber. You got to imagine the local barber in terms of the number of people that person has conversations about, where they hear, I'm thinking about moving, I'm thinking about buying, I just got a new job. If you are the real estate agent that exists in their brain because you took some effort to give them some free exposure and amplify their message to your audience, it's like, anyway, the potential power of this, if people actually dive in, is super powerful. But regardless of how extreme you go with the with your effort into it, focusing local, focusing lifestyle in terms of doing your mass emailing is definitely the way that makes email work.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's how you avoid burning your list, making sure it's high quality content, and you position yourself as an expert. So now that people they're like, this sounds great, I want to do this. This is how I want to spend my time inside for the next couple of weeks. How do they even start? So I'm going to put up a poll real quick just to kind of get a feel of who is currently mass marketing emails, who is not, who is sort of started, but also, moved on, kind of got lost. So while they're doing that, I'll share that in a minute. But while they're doing that, I'm just live. We're going to quickly just bullet out how do we get started plan. So let's see. see my
So
screen? Go ahead.
real quick, go ahead. So after you get your answer into that poll, go ahead and raise your hand if after what I just described, you're still kind of wondering, but how does this result in me getting business? If you're sort of thinking like, how does this result in me actually finding deals? It's like, great, I'm fantastic for me to put out information to my community, but like, how do I actually convert that into business? Go ahead and raise your hand if that's still kind of a question in the back of your mind. Okay, seeing lots of hands go up. Okay, cool. So we're gonna answer that for you. That's gonna be part of what we'll explain here in this how you actually do this. So awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll get that answered. And Gabe, I do not have control for lowering people's hands, but I think you should as the host. If you wouldn't mind lowering the hands so that the next time we ask a question, we have that available, that'd be good.
Yeah, for sure. Is that interesting?
It should show up right under the participants.
Lower all hands. There we go.
There you go.
Hands are gone. Crazy.
All right, cool.
Sweet. So it looks like that poll, we're about 2 minutes in. It looks like about it's almost a third. So almost a third of you are mass marketing, a third of you are not, and that's probably why we're here, so we can get started. And then about a third of you, a little less than a third, are kind of like, I kind of started, and then that's where we're at. So,
right.
So if those people are coming to you, they're coming to Zach Hammer, they're like, hey, Zach, I heard about this email. It sounds like a silver bullet. How do I get started? Where do I even start, man?
Cool. So I think first and foremost, I want you to set your intention in terms of what the plan is. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to think of is I want you to plan on doing about one email a week. Okay. Okay. You can do potentially more depending on what you have going on in your world, or you can do less. I'd say at least once a month, but once a week would be good. If you are, again, as long as you're sticking to what I said of talking local, talking lifestyle. Okay. So that's one of the key ideas there. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're really going to want to think through, where you're going to source your content, how you're going to source your content. And I'm going to give you guys a few frameworks that you can use, that can be helpful on this front.
Okay. Cool.
All right, cool. So let me see. So Alice says 1 per week seems like a lot for sort of cold KV core emails. Yeah, well, and it is if you're putting out information people don't care about. The reality is, when you start feeling like you're emailing people too much is probably about the point where they actually start noticing you. Because we have so much going on in this world right now that if you want people to actually see the stuff that you're putting it out fairly frequently is going to be necessary. Now, the key, again, you got to make sure that your content is in line with stuff that people are actually going to read, actually pay attention to. And you can, the reality is when it comes to marketing like this, once per week, if that feels like too much to you, then sure, feel free to pull it back. I'd say once per week is about what I would want to do. But yeah, if you want to do every couple of weeks, if you want to do, 2 times a month, whatever you want to do, that's fine. I would say no less than once a month. But quite honestly, once a week is barely going to phase most people.
Yeah, I know it does sound like a lot even to me when I think about like sending it out once a week. But then I go into my email inbox and I see like thousands of emails. And so if something doesn't surface, at least once every 7 days,
right?
If it comes once a month, like I'm not going to remember. If it comes today, I'm not going to remember it by Monday. Like that is a lot. That's a lot for me to remember. So once a week makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the next thing that I want you to think about is where you're going to source your content, or how you're going to create this, right? Like, are you going to share links to articles? Are you going to write the articles yourself? Are you going to, shoot videos and then share that out to people? I want you to think through and put together your plan, whatever that looks like. And one of my main phrases when I talk to people about doing marketing is the concept of done is better than perfect. Okay. So I would much rather that people right now start sending out 1 email a week that literally the only thing that they're doing is writing a short summary and then linking to somebody else's content. I would much rather somebody do that then decide, oh, he said local's best and like writing it myself would be the best. So like, I'm not going to do this unless I can do that. Right. Don't do that. Just get into action. It's much easier to, grow your habit of saying, hey, I've gotten used to sending this one email a week. Writing a quick summary. Now let me start, bringing somebody on to help me write the content, or now let me, start shooting these videos and sharing those instead. It's much easier to adapt than it is to just, make it perfect right from the get go.
For sure.
So just go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, just Kevin had some great questions about that. One of the ones you almost touched on was, do you stick with a style sheet or do you make these emails all look different? If you're making an email a week and you want to style it different, it's gonna be a job, man. I think you want to do is pick a style sheet, pick something you like, and then as you go every week, if there's something you want to tweak, make a little bit better, and then this slowly evolves so that in a couple of years it looks a little bit different than when you started.
Right.
But also you're not reinventing the wheel every single week to send out these things. So it's
right.
Yeah, having it styled so it's ready to go, and then you can kind of pop in your content, the thing you found online, the article that was really interesting about your local area. You just pop that in there, right, and hit send. You can have it done in about 30 minutes to an hour once a week.
Yeah, if even that. I mean, if you're literally just sending out somebody else's content, depending, especially with a tool like Apination, where you can make it so that your list is just in there and ready, and all you got to do is populate the email, send it to the right people to send.
Right.
Yeah, you can get that done in 10 minminutes.
Yeah, all that maintenance is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So fantastic question. In terms, the other thing, because along with that question comes the thought of like, how much work do I need to put into styling this? Let me lift a bit of a burden off your shoulders. One of the things that the marketing community has found, in terms of open rates, in terms of deliverability rates, which means how much does your email actually show up in somebody's inbox, which that's a much deeper question. But in terms of maximizing the actual exposure of your emails to folks, simple is good. Simple is better. The less designed your email is, the more likely people are actually going to get to read it. So don't worry a ton about like super fancy, complicated emails. If you want to have a little bit of style in there, it's probably not going to hurt you. But don't be so worried about like, you want something super flashy. If you use a tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp as an easy way to just use their templates and maybe throw up a banner and then change the content a little bit, maybe throw in an image from the article that you're sharing, that kind of idea. That's all you need. You don't need something super designed in terms of making this work.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So there's a few different questions here I just want to cover. Laura asked, should we give an opt-out option? You definitely should give
Absolutely.
an opt-out option. Yeah, that's it'll help you with your deliverability. If the email program does not see an unsubscribe link in there, it'll actually more often move you to spam. So if you're doing these mass market things, Constant Contact and MailChimp, I'm sure ActiveCampaign and Sendinblue, I'm sure they all offer that unsubscribe link by default, and you can take it out, but I would not recommend that.
For mass email, I would without fail say you need to have an easy way for people to unsubscribe. There's a couple of reasons. For one, in the US, it's illegal to not have an easy way for people to unsubscribe. Illegal. So you want to make that easy so that you don't actually run into issues with that. Can spam laws are actually a little bit less strict than a lot of people realize. But in terms of, it does you no good to continue to email people who don't want to hear from you. Zero good. It only hurts. That's all it does. Yeah. So yes, give people an easy way to unsubscribe every time. That may be less the case if you are one-to-one emailing somebody in a sales environment. But in terms of mass email, mass marketing, yes, give people an easy way to opt out.
Yeah. And then just a couple more. Kevin, do you limit email subject to one topic, or do you put multiple ideas to get their attention? Typically, just to save yourself some time to keep focus, I would just throw a topic per email. You don't need to send them the Wall Street Journal, just one idea. And then do you ever resend same emails to ones didn't open the first time? That's totally up to you. If you're doing it monthly, I would totally do that.
Right.
Even maybe if you're doing it
Yeah.
weekly, I don't know.
It's actually it's a super ninja hack. It's something that I do all
Yeah.
the time. So
Yeah.
so what you do, depending on the software that you're using, some of them make it easy, some of them make it harder. But yeah, you can actually drastically increase your open rates by resending the same exact email with a slightly different subject to anybody who didn't open your first email. So yeah, it's a really great way to increase your open rate. So yes,
Yeah. And
depending on how easy the software that you're using makes that, if you're up for it, I would definitely recommend it.
yeah, I know Constant Contact makes it like a button push. They actually ask you, would you like to
Right.
resend this to the people? So that's kind of nice.
Right.
So let's see. So I've set the intention. I've decided I'm going to send it weekly. I figured out where I can get my content. And then what do I do from there? So I got a CRM full of leads. I've decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it weekly. I've got 4 or 5 articles set up. Now what do I do?
Right. Yeah. So now you have to make a decision. Do you want to bang your head against the wall every week, or do you want to have an easy button that actually makes it simple for you to get your emails from something like your CRM into the service that you're actually going to be sending out the mass emails? So real quick, show of hands of anybody that wants the easy button, and then type I love banging my head against the wall for anybody else. Okay, lots of people raising their hands. Awesome. Okay, so one of the easiest ways that you can make this happen is to use some sort of integration, maybe from a company, that's like a nation of API connections,
Yeah,
that
if
helps
only.
you. So yeah, so what we would recommend, definitely make this easy on yourself. Apination integrates with most of the major CRMs, so you can automatically keep those lists in sync. So anybody who comes into your CRM also automatically goes into your email platform. What email platforms right now do you guys support in terms of the mass email marketing?
Right now, we've just added Outlook. So if you're doing that, that wouldn't be mass email, but we just added that guy. So if
Right.
you're doing one-to-one, for mass email, our biggest syncs are MailChimp and Constant Contact. So if you're using either of those
Cool.
2 platforms, if you are adding leads constantly to your CRM, or even if somebody calls you and said, hey, you know what, I've got a new email address, you just go into your
Right.
Boomtown, KV Core, LionDesk, whatever, and you update it. And then when you go to send your weekly mass market email, it's already done. It's already updated. So you can go in there and just hit send. So when you do finally go into MailChimp and send out that article, you don't have to worry about, all the little bits and boots of who's getting it. It'll just be the people from your CRM that'll automatically be happening.
Exactly. And that is what I would recommend. Basically, as long as, so again, setting our intention of knowing when we want to, how often we want to do it, thinking through what kind of content you're going to write, where you're going to write it. As long as you're doing that and the kind of content you're putting out is relevant to everybody, then yes, every single person that comes into your CRM, go ahead and drop them into something so you can do more of a mass market thing, right? So and make it easy on yourself. So real quick, for anybody who didn't want the easy button, the way that you do it otherwise is you literally copy and paste, or you download and export and re-upload, and you literally manually move people from one place to another, instead of just going the easy route. So anyway, that's what you would do, and you're not going to do it because it's a pain in the butt.
No, and it'll get wrong. And when I've done it with emails before, I worked at Apination. Also, another thing that happens is you end up putting the same people in there a couple different times, and you pay per contact on Constant Contact, on MailChimp. So these lists swell to redundant email addresses that you don't really need in there because you've been doing it manually. You've been exporting, importing. It's you definitely wanted to have the robot do it. That's when you want the robot involved. Cool.
Exactly.
So,
So then the next thing that you're going to want to do, so after you've got your lead synced, you've got your emails all together. I mean, like I forget, I think it was Kevin who asked about the styling. Pick your styling, whatever you're going to do. You don't need to overthink it. Generally, Constant Contact, MailChimp, they have fantastic ways that look good out of the box, that are simple already. So don't overthink it. Chances are, literally, you can go with their simplest thing and just write the email that's largely text, and you're going to be fine that way. If you want to dive into design a little bit more, I understand some people like to. That's okay. Don't go too overboard with it. A simple header, maybe a couple of pictures that reemphasize your point in the email itself. That's all you need if you're going to throw in some graphics. But pick whatever you're going to use and make it consistent. That way, as people see you in their email inbox, they come to expect a consistent style. Okay. In that same vein, so kind of in the same idea of like, where do you get your content? What kind of content you're going to do? I want to give you guys a couple of different ways that you can do this. Okay. So the first way would be the one thing at a time. Okay. And the idea here is like you're sharing one key article or one key idea or one key piece of content. Okay, so if you go and interview a local business, it's a little blurb about the business, a little bit about what they're going to find in the video, the link to the video, and then you sign off, right? So that would be the one key idea. With that style of email, I want every single one of you to pay massive attention to a key area. And for those of you who asked, who were wondering before, how do we get business out of this? This is where you get business. You get business in something called the PS. Okay, so every email that you send should have a PS. And the PS, what it's designed to do is you want to use the PS as a way to ask a question that reminds people about who you are in the real estate world. Okay, so you might say, let's say we wrote our email that says, I interviewed this local business. You can check out the video here. Oh, also they gave you guys a discount if you mention my name, right? So you have that as your main thing. You've got your signature that has your name, your company name, your license number, if you have to include that, maybe your logo, etc. And then down below that, you have PS. I just got a new listing that's, these key details. If that sounds like that's interesting to you and you would like to know more about it, please reply to this email and let me know, and I can get you more information. Or PS, I just released a guide to buying a home in light of, in light of the new year, in light of, current market conditions, etc. I just released a guide. If you'd like me to send that to you, then please reach out. I'd love to chat with you about it. PS, there are programs available right now if you're considering buying a home that can potentially get you free money toward the down payment of your home. If you're considering buying a home right now and would like information about those programs, please reach out to me. I'd love to answer your questions. Okay, so the PS is one of the biggest ways where you can, get business out of this, where you remind people that you're in the real estate world and you're giving people the opportunities. And the reason why the PS works is because everybody reads it. Okay, everybody reads the PS. Right. Like I don't. If you open the email and you see a PS, you're reading it, right? Yeah. But the other thing is that because the email is about the local thing, the lifestyle thing, the thing that's actually interesting, they don't see it as I'm just getting pitched on real estate stuff. They see I'm getting good information, but I'm still being reminded about the real estate stuff. And anybody who is in the market, that's going to be your signal. They're going to raise their hand. It's going to be the right time, etc. And there's lots of different offers that you could put in there. There's lots of different things. Whatever is top of mind for you right now, the key things that I want you to remember is ask a question and ask people to reach back out. What I don't want to see you do, if you just released a guide on buying a home or selling a home, don't drop the link in the PS. Don't do that. Unless it's a link to a landing page. That would be okay. Instead of dropping the link in there, ask a question. Force them to reply and raise their hand to indicate that they're interested, so you know who you need to be talking to about their real estate needs. Okay? Does that make sense? If that makes sense to folks about why that could be powerful, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, awesome. Lots of people seeing the power of that. Okay, so that is one style of email. I'm going to give you another style of email. If you've got lots of information that you want to share, the other style of email is I gave it its name based on the person who popularized this kind of email, or at least the person that popularized it for me. It's called the 5 Bullet Friday. Okay, so Tim Ferriss, who here is familiar with Tim Ferriss? If you know who Tim Ferriss is, go ahead and raise your hand. I'm just curious who the Tim Ferriss fans are out there. So good number of people are familiar with Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss, if you don't know who he is, he wrote a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, and then wrote a number of other books like 4-Hour Chef and 4-Hour Body and Tools of Titans, and I feel like he may have come out with another one too. Yeah. But essentially, his claim to fame, like what he originally got started with, was kind of this idea of being able to travel and kind of hack your work schedule so that you don't have to work as much, but you still get a lot of great results out of it. And then really these days, he's kind of like an optimization person who deals with optimizing your health and optimizing your finances and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, he's a cool person. But his email newsletter, the only thing that he sends out is this email that's called 5 Bullet Friday. And all it is it's, as it sounds, he's got 5 bullets in the email, and it's basically, this is a book that I'm reading that I enjoy. This is a video that I saw that was interesting. This is a Netflix special that I've been enjoying. This is, et cetera. Okay. So if you don't need 5 bullets, and it doesn't need to be Friday. But you can use that idea to say, I'm going to send out an email that I'm going to keep it somewhat short. You don't want it super long. You don't want lots of information in there, but think 5, and that's probably a good number. You can share. It's like, here's a business that I've loved. Here's an update that's going on in the real estate market you should know about. Here's something that you should be doing to keep your house in order during spring. You can use kind of all these tactics as a way to have lots of different ways that people are connecting with you, and you get to share a part of who you are, right? Yeah. So instead of having to use the PS, you can have a bullet be real estate information. You can have a bullet be an aspect of that. So it kind of serves the same purpose, where it's not all the content is real estate, but you still get the opportunity to talk real estate. And if you set out a 5 bullet email, you can still use PS. But anyway,
that's right. Yeah, no, I think that's huge. I also like the thing you touched on just a little bit there, where don't forget to make this personal. Like, share something you really enjoyed. What are you, is there a restaurant that you really went to, you really liked, a grocery? Is there some music that, you checked out? Is there a TED Talk that really inspired you? You're going to be a big part of these people's lives with this. I mean, I talked to my realtor. We bought this house a couple of years ago. I still talk to him like a few times a year, if not monthly, just to see how he's doing, see how his family's doing. So you want to build that relationship by sharing those ideas. I like the 5 Bullet Friday thing. Tim Ferriss has laid out. If you haven't subscribed to it, just check it out. We'll send a link out with this wrap up for sure.
Cool. And even if you don't love the content that Tim Ferriss puts out, it could be a great example of just kind of how you can do it, how simple it could be, et cetera. And most of the content that he's sharing in that 5 Bullet Friday, it's not his own content, right? He's writing a quick blurb and then linking out to something else that he likes. So it's an easy thing that you can wrap your mind around. It's simple to do. But what's great is that by doing that, he will occasionally promote things, right? Like he comes out with a book, or he's doing an interview chain or something. Like you'll see him in the PS. He'll mention what he's promoting right now, what's going on, and he'll drive people to that. But he's trained people to open his email because it's always something relevant, and it's not always just a pitch for his business.
Right. Yeah. So that leads us into what are innovative agents doing? What are successful innovative agents doing? So let's say I've come to you. You've told me about how to start this mass marketing email. I've done it. It's slowly grown. I got a simple personal email that's going out every week, and my business is thriving. In a year, what are like some techniques I could start looking into to really take this to the next level, just to give us like a taste of where we'll be headed?
Yeah. So what's great is that as you start putting your mind in the mindset of what does my market actually want to hear? What are the messages that resonate? If you start with just pointing to other people's content, you can use the understanding that you start to get of what people are interested in, what actually gets people interacting, and start using that to say, okay, well, now I want to bring on a writer, or I want to start writing myself, and I want to start creating this content. So instead of sending the traffic to somebody else's website, I'm sending them into my ecosystem where they have more opportunities to interact with my IDX, or they have more opportunities to raise their hand because of real estate transactions, right? Like you can start to do that. You can also, do things like take the local concept and really run with it, and turn that into like a show, like I talked about with the local celebrity show concept. If you want to see somebody who's doing that wonderfully, check out Kyle Whistle on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel called Everything East County. He's in the San Diego area, talking to people in his area about the restaurants that he loves and cool things about the area. He does these videos where he's often interviewing local business owners, showing things that are cool about what they're doing. He's focused more on food right now because he's found that that's the content that works the best for him. So, but what's great is that in creating that content, email is just a distribution channel, right? So all the work that you put into email, it's not like it just stays in email. You can use it as your social media posts. You can use it as blog posts. You can use it to create videos. You could use it in your direct mail, depending on what you're putting out, right? So it's a type of content that you can use in all sorts of different forms and media.
Yeah. No. And I think one of the things I saw Kyle also mention is that he creates these videos, he posts them on social, and not just because people love food do they do it, but
Right.
the restaurant actually will leverage and amplify it out. It's like,
Absolutely.
this is the
Yeah.
best video anybody's made about this restaurant ever. So I'm definitely going to
Right.
share this around, and this is going to be
Right.
my YouTube, my Facebook header forever, and it's going to have a little
Yep.
your
We,
agent watermark on there, kind of showing you as the mayor of East County,
yeah.
or Fort Worth,
We,
whatever. So
we have a word for that. We call it halo marketing, which is
uh
essentially the concept that by lifting other people up, they actually take that message to their own audience, and you get that distributed effect where your stature is being raised just because you're raising somebody else up.
yeah,
But yeah, so instead of just it going out to your own audience, you're actually getting exposed to their audience as well.
it's awesome, cool. So that's what we hope to be doing in a year. That's what I hope to be doing once I start this newsletter out. And then, do you have any final resources and tips? You already mentioned Kyle Whistle's Everything East County, Tim Ferriss's 5 Bullet Friday kind of blog, the Zillow Porch Light blog, as just examples
Right.
of great content that you could also be
Right.
emulating and producing. So, did you have anything else
Yeah.
that? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So one of them, I've got a link here that I think we're going to be sharing with people. Andre Chaperone is the guy's name. He's got a website called tinylittlebusiness.com. He's got a free course on email marketing.
Oh, cool.
It's different than what I've just described. It's a different style. What I would recommend, I really love his course on email marketing. You have to adapt it a little bit to make it make sense in the real estate world. But for anybody who wants kind of some ninja tricks in terms of how you get people to read your emails and how you get people to read from email to email, there's some great ideas that you can glean from what he talks about there. There's a fair bit of adaptation that you need to do. It's not exactly this concept, but there's going to be a link that we're going to be sharing out with folks.
Yeah.
Andre Chaperone, tinylittlebusiness.com. Another one, there's a couple of books that are worth checking out. Really, anything by Seth Godin, period, is fantastic.
Seth Godin's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's got a couple of books that are really relevant to kind of thinking through what does your marketing do in terms of actually getting your message out. Permission marketing is probably one of the first ones that you should start with in terms of thinking through what these messages actually look like. And then unleashing the idea virus is another good one that's worth checking out. Those are both Seth Godin. Another source, so we mentioned the Zillow Porchlight blog, but really any website that is focused around home life, that kind of thing. Those are worthwhile. A great place to find content that is spreading well is Pinterest, in terms of going there and looking for content that people are spreading and pinning and enjoying. A lot of people still like Pinterest is actually still a fairly popular site. It's
huge,
kind of fallen off the radar. Yeah, it's fallen off the radar a bit for a lot of people, but it's a great place to go and find ideas. So like you could go and do a search for like spring cleaning, or you could do a search for DIY and see what comes up, and then use that as inspiration to then write your own content or just share out the articles that you find.
Yeah, it's like a content powerhouse. Pinterest is like it's you just anything that's you'll lose hours in there. It'll be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So especially right now.
And as you start creating content, it's a great place to reshare it out.
Yeah, and also get inspired by the different styles. And I think one of the biggest ways I love Pinterest is kind of getting off topic, but it shows you what style of image is really shareable, because that's what ends up happening there. That stuff surfaces. So cool.
Absolutely.
So some Seth Godin books, this email marketing course, and then finally the tools we have at API Nation. We have we have MailChimp, Constant Contact. We have Google Sheets. If you want, you can just sync your leads into Google Sheets with most of your CRMs, and then that's always updated. So you can just go there and push that into Active Campaign or Sendinblue or whatever you want to do.
Actually, real quick, I'd like to touch on that. To me, it's a little bit of a separate tool for why it's important. So it's to me, it's not exactly important for sake of just general email marketing, but pushing your leads into something like Google Sheets, it's more of a protecting your business kind of thing, right? It's super important, and if it can be easy, that you want it to happen, because like you never know. Maybe something happens that, like, it's not likely, but maybe something happens that MailChimp goes down, or something weird happens and they shut down your account. If you were relying exclusively on your emails being in there, you're up a creek if you get cut off from it. So
Yeah,
if you have a backup of your entire list kind of outside of any of these major systems, that could be a really great way to just make sure that like you're dotting your I's and checking and crossing your T's, just to make sure that you're staying safe. So yeah, Google Sheets on that front, definitely worthwhile, just if only to have a backup.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's super simple, and you can just go in there and you can find all that stuff. It's and then you can just dump it wherever. I know some people, if they're using like a marketing specialist or a virtual assistant or an inside sales assistant, they'll just give them a Google sheet full of leads that have already been maintained, always fresh. Everything's updated. They just hand it to them. They can get it. Just say, here, just go, and then you don't have to get them to log into your Boomtown and have them messing around in there. To log into your KV Core, any of that stuff. So, cool.
Absolutely.
And
another one, I know at some point I don't know if I'm going to be on that webinar or not, but I think at some point you guys are going to be actually specifically talking about HomeBinder and that service. That's another cool way that you can sort of lean into this concept of staying top of mind with people. So HomeBinder, for anybody who isn't familiar, it's a service that gets provided to your to the people who buy the house. So that they have like a record to store everything about the house, the paint colors, the service record, when it was last serviced, when it should be serviced, that kind of thing. But built into the service are automatic reminders that go out and help the people who own the home now to know what they need to be doing. And with those reminders, your information, your real estate information, your face, your logo, et cetera, go out with those emails as well. And because it fits in that vein of, it's something that needs to happen regardless. It's a good idea for people to do regardless. It's a really easy way to have top of mind awareness constantly.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier in the webinar, just kind of like sending out maintenance reminders as like a nice email request. And this is like the no-brainer way to do it. Is you just sign up for this. They buy the house and you just hand them the keys to the digital keys to their HomeBinder. And they don't have, something physical kind of clunking around their house while they're getting settled. They just have this nice thing online. And then they just get those emails throughout the year that's like, hey, don't forget to change your gutters, clean your gutters. Don't forget, this warranty's coming up. You might want to renew it. Exactly. And it always says, from Zach Hammer. Zach Hammer's reminding you this, or from Gabe Hackstrom. And it reinforces your blog or your personal brand. And it makes you useful for sure. And yeah, we have that sync also. So we have the MailChimp, the Google Sheets, the Constant Contact, and we have a HomeBinder.loop sync. You can definitely check that out. We'll include a link to that. And you basically, once you close that .loop transaction, the natural thing to happen is a HomeBinder gets created, and then you can just hand that over to your client. It's super easy. It's a no-brainer way to do this. If you're going to do go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, HomeBinder to me, it doesn't replace what we've been talking about in this, but it's definitely a great addition where the way that it fits into everything that we've been talking about is if you boil down everything that we've been describing in terms of how you email in your CRM and how you email in mass email, is you always want to ask yourself, is the email that I am about to send relevant to the person who's about to receive it? If you ask yourself that question and the answer is yes, then you're probably sending a good email, right? If you ask yourself that question and the answer is no, then you're probably not sending a good email. So what's nice about HomeBinder is that all of the emails that are going to be sent out from it are going to be relevant to the person who it's being sent to. So you get the benefit of having your information in front of them, but it's a relevant email. So it's another touch, it's another reminder, it's another time where they get to hear from you. Similar, your newsletter style emails are more about them connecting with you personally, more about you sharing information that endears them to you, that builds your relationship with you. The CRM emails are a lot more about giving them the information and the help that they need right now. So anyway, that's kind of how it all sort of fits together. I know we're a little bit past time in terms of what we had planned. I'm good to stay on for a bit longer. I see we got a lot of questions. Are you good to stay on for a bit longer too?
Yeah, we can do about five more minutes and field some questions.
Cool. So I know there's some good ones in here that you're definitely going to want to cover. Brenda asks, how does Apination work with Constant Contact? I use API to back up my .loop only right now. So I don't know if you want to dive into that, or if they should just reach out to you guys to get help on getting those things integrated.
Oh, yeah, I can show you. I mean, I can tell you real quick. So API Nation works with Constant Contact two different ways. So if you have KV Core, a CRM KV Core, or if you are bringing in Facebook leads, you can hook that right into Constant Contact. So anything you add to KV Core, or anytime a Facebook lead comes in for one of your ads, it just gets popped right into Constant Contact. So if you're using Constant Contact, that person will be added right into your newsletter list. Another nice way to do, which I can send out, I'll send out a video about how to do this, but for Facebook leads in particular, if you're sending Facebook leads, you can have them popped right into Constant Contact. There is like not a quicker way to do speed to lead than to just have that go in there. So they click the button, they say, hey, that house looks cool. And they click the button, and then minutes later, they'll get an email from Constant Contact because you've connected the two. So I'll send an email. I'll include that in the follow-up email for this kind of wrap-up for sure.
Awesome. And another question from Greg. Can API Nation connect my autoresponder with a product or app, i.e. page builder, that does not currently have an integration set up?
Yeah, API, we have a whole team that just does custom setups. So whenever somebody like Greg or Zach or Josie or any of these people, they come up with kind of this dream integration idea, they can just let us know. On our website, there's a link at the top for custom sync. Let's see here. And you just click that and you'll get in contact with our team here who just kind of makes those dreams come true. I can kind of show you real quick.
I love the way you word that. It just makes your dreams come true.
Yeah, it just makes it happen. So yeah, at the top there, it's custom syncs, and you'll just fill out a quick thing that says, what do I want to connect? I want to connect, my autoresponder to page builder. You just click this guy and get started. So very cool.
Yeah. And on that note, I know companies like API Nation. One of the big ways that I'm sure you guys get a lot of your ideas of like where you should be focusing your efforts on really building out connections that everybody has available, that's available across the board. One of the big ways is by hearing from people who are using your product where they want those connections to happen, right? So definitely I encourage you, if you guys are already an API Nation customer, if you're already using the service, look for opportunities where you could say, I really want this thing to integrate with this thing. Can they help me with that? And that's part of how those changes start getting implemented and where the company knows to focus their efforts too.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Cool. Let's see
so,
here. Go ahead.
And then Greg, oh yeah. So we already answered that one. And then there were some questions over here in the chat too. Let me see. What if, yeah, so Patrick says they're in Phoenix. So what are these things you call gutters? Alice said, I posted an, okay, so who is open? Had a big response. Yeah, so that goes to the point of local, right? So who's open right now? Who can still do business right now in the whole COVID situation? It's a fantastic way to sort of be contextually relevant right now. One per week seems like a lot. We already talked about that one. Sent out a weekly newsletter. Cool, we'll have to check that out. How do I know what to send to strangers? So that's part of what we go, what goes back to if they're showing up on your list, if they're showing up and asking about information about homes or about things in your area, then if you're giving people lifestyle information or local information, it's hard to go wrong, right? The reality is you can't 100% connect your message to everybody, but if you are true to yourself, if you're true to the things that you like, then the people who are naturally connected to you will naturally, connect to your marketing messages that way as well. I send every 3 days and prepare them a week in advance. Fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, if you've got good relevant content to send out frequently, you're right. Once a week may actually be, on the low end of what you could do. So fantastic. I'd be curious to hear what your results are. API Nation versus MailChimp. Have you covered that? So it's not a versus thing. API Nation helps you connect your other tools to MailChimp. So if you're using MailChimp or you want to use MailChimp, API Nation is just a fantastic tool to make those connect together seamlessly with something like KV Core or Boom Boom, and what's Boomtown.
Bomb, yeah, Boomtown, yeah.
Bomb is the one that I'm thinking of. But Boomtown, KV Core. Do you guys? I forget. Like there's a lot of integrations.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely not a versus thing. It's MailChimp and KV Core and API Nation, and we are just kind of that middle guy who hands, hey, you got a lead? Let's put it in here. Let's make sure let's make sure we're all on the same page. That's kind of what API Nation does for you.
Absolutely. So if I have KV Core / MailChimp integration, all my SOI and CRM leads can be reached with one email. Absolutely. That's the whole point, right? So again, the key is when you send an email with MailChimp, make sure you're thinking about, is this relevant to everybody? SOI, SOI, current potential clients, etc. So keep that in mind. But yes, API, you exactly got the point. KV Core, MailChimp, get aligned together when you connect them through API Nation. Absolutely. Okay, you answered that one there. I see that okay, that name again. I think Alice, you might have been asking about the YouTube name. Which
I popped it. I think contextually, I think it popped up when we were talking about Seth Godin. But
okay, Seth Godin. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Is there a good way of consolidating all your emails? John, I'd have to hear a little bit more about what you mean in terms of consolidating all your email, like your contacts, your email addresses. Apination is a great way to consolidate all of them, because you can use it to connect all your different sources together, get them centralized into one place, like Google Sheets or into something like MailChimp. So yeah, if you mean consolidate all your emails, like the actual emails you're going to send, you might have to give us a little bit more context to make sure I know how to answer your question.
Yeah, it looks like you mentioned leads. And if you're going to consolidate all your leads, you probably want definitely have them in your CRM, but you want all those emails consolidated into a Google Sheets, just in case, like Zach said, something happens in your CRM. Access gets fried or whatever. It's always in that Google Sheet ready to go.
Right. Can you do the same with MailChimp? I'm not positive what the context was in that. If you're talking about Apination integrates both with MailChimp and Constant Contact. So if you mean, when we were talking about Constant Contact, can you do the same thing with MailChimp? Yes. They integrate similarly. So you can patch your leads through to MailChimp or Constant Contact equally as well. Cool. Otherwise, you might need to give us a little bit more. Okay, cool. That's what
you got it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay. Awesome. I think we got one more that came in on the Q&A. Is there a system that I can use for email and text automation? There's lots of systems that you can use for email and text automation. I'm not positive if you guys integrate with any right now that are integrated both together. I know Boomtown has text automation for
Boomtown
the leads
has
that happen
it.
in there.
LionDesk has it. There's a few CRMs that have it that we help you manage your contacts with, which we do Google Sheets with LionDesk. We do Google Sheets with Boomtown, so that you can kind of help manage that. We don't currently have like a text marketing app on there. So if you have one, Brenda, and you're thinking about, I really love all my leads going into this text one, let us know. Send us an email, or you can type it on here, and I'll mark it down and get it to our product team for sure.
Right. And just on that note, in terms of thinking through text marketing and mass marketing with text, there are a lot more legal requirements when it comes to how you send text messages to people than there are for emails. So really check that out and be careful and cautious about that. You cannot just add people to a text list the same way that you could add them to an email list legally without potentially exposing yourself to a lot of financial liability. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. Most of the systems, like I know Boomtown especially has wording on some of their opt-in forms so that they're helping to get people actually saying that they're okay to receive your text messages. But you can't just add people to a text message list without exposing yourself to some problems. So just keep that in mind. Mass market texting is fantastic, but it's very much a permission-based marketing channel. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. This let's take this last question from Lavonda. Is there a difference between MailChimp and Constant Contact material and pricing? I'll get started, but if you have anything to add after this, MailChimp and Constant Contact functionally are pretty similar. There's some slight differences that could be helpful. For example, MailChimp, the first 2,000 contacts you load in there, free. You can just throw 2,000 contacts. If you want to get started with anything, MailChimp is a great way to do it because you can get started for free. If you have less than 2,000, that's the way to do it. You can send up to 4 emails a month doing that. And, you can just head over to MailChimp and sign up for that free account. Constant Contact has a free trial, a 30-day free trial. So you can give it a shot, see what you like, see if the interface is more friendly to you. That's a big part of it, is you don't want to make this a huge pain, something you don't like doing every week. So I would encourage you to just open them both up. You can check them both out for free, and then just see which one really talks to you and seems most intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say the other thing that I'd throw in the boat of Constant Contact recently has been putting more effort and attention to like helping small businesses with their marketing in general.
Mm.
So that part of what they're doing is they're trying to set up their platform to be kind of a little bit more all encompassing for how you can do your marketing through them. MailChimp is solid. They do a great job. In terms of focus, MailChimp has stayed very focused on email and kind of helping people do email. Constant Contact has started to expand a little bit in terms of I think even potentially helping people run ads and set up campaigns and like I forget what all they're doing at this point, but so there's some differences company wise. Both are very solid. If you're already using one, I don't really recommend switching for any reason. If you're not sure which one to use, the fact that MailChimp offers it for free is as good a reason as any to go with the company. But Constant Contact is fantastic too. So they're both good.
Yeah. Sweet. So like we said,
I mean, in terms of cost difference, there isn't like a drastic difference, right?
No.
Because the reality is most people will quickly get past the free level of MailChimp anyway. If you're doing decent marketing and generating enough leads and whatnot, like you're gonna move past that 2,000 person mark anyway. And once you actually start paying, they're very similar. They're very similar in pricing.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, Zach, I really appreciate it. This was huge. And like I said, we'll send this out, recording if anybody wants to check it out. And we'll also send out the links to the additional resources, the blogs, the books, and of course, the API Nation syncs that can make this whole thing just a whole lot easier in your life as you go forward, starting your mass marketing email as you have time at home sitting in front of your computer. So yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in. Zach, did you have anywhere you wanted to send people to learn more about you?
Yeah, sure. So feel free, check me out online. My company is Real Estate Growth Hackers. You can go to realestategrowthhackers.com, learn more about what we're up to. I'm very active on Facebook. I have an Instagram account. I'm less active on there. But yeah, check us out. I'm happy to connect. I love helping real estate agents implement better marketing, whether it's through free or paid information. I'm very, very proactive in helping people. I mean, shoot, I'm sure Gabe can attest to kind of the level of willingness to just give and share that kind of exists within me. So so feel free, reach out. More than happy to connect on Facebook or find us online at realestategrowthhackers.com.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll include that link also so they can find you and say hi, join your groups. Yeah, I appreciate it so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.